Okay, what I'm doing now, this is just sort of experimental, but I'm looking to find the position I'm going to hang my yoke from that my boom here will pivot from. So I'm looking for an ergonomic position. I'm going to have it so it'll rotate a bit so I can get this in or out of the way. But need to be able to pump the bellows and manage my steel that's in the fire pot here. So I'm thinking that that's just roughly where that's going to go. On the very back side, I'm going to have a solid rod that will go down to the very bottom paddle. So as I pull down, bottom paddle comes up, forces air into the top chamber. The only way air can go now, because I've got her all plumbed in, into the slurry underneath the firebox is in underneath the coals. So yeah, one step closer. Starting to look like a blacksmith shop. Yep, I had to bring back some tools and start setting it up because I'm going to need these tools for the next part of my project. So I have a number of things I have to do. The anchor for my anvil is 6 feet in the ground and it's too low. So I can't pull it up. So I'm going to have to add some to the top of it. I've got to build a crib for my coal. I have to build a workbench in the corner, but I'm awful close to the first fire. So today's the day. This is sort of the culmination of about 4 months' work from the first log to this point. And we're going to have our first fire in that forge. The only thing I'm a little bit skeptical about whether it's going to draw without having a hood over my firebox. I'm hoping it does because I'll have better visibility. Anyway, we're going to get set up and I'm going to light my first fire. So I've got my beam set up here for my bellows. I'll be able to tweak it a little bit, so I think it's going to work right where it is. And I've had a busy couple of days getting set up for this. So I still have some tools to bring back, but I've got my post vise mounted here. I've raised my anvil up to an ergonomic height for me. That's going to be just about perfect. I built a swage block holder, so a slot for it in its vertical position and part of it for the horizontal position of it. I brought back most of the hardy tools that I'm going to need, chisels, cutoff tools, different jigs. I've built over here, I've built a couple of bins. Well, I didn't build this guy, but we built a coal bin there. I got about 450 pounds of coal, so that's going to keep me going for a while. I don't have my quench and barrel full yet because all I want to do today is get this thing lit and see if the darn thing smoke goes in the right direction, which is out of this building. And yeah, let's get at lighting it. Oh, one other thing that I did is I put up sort of a spark arrestor or fire protection for the wooden part of the ceiling, because that darn bellows blows so much air I can get flame going up there, I think, if I want. Anyway, we're soon to find out. So what I'm doing here, this would be the apprentice's job. So a typical day in a blacksmith shop in the 1800's would have been 10 hours, generally 6 days a week. They got Sundays off. But the apprenticeship, the apprentice, I should say, to the blacksmith, his job was to get up about an hour before the blacksmith. He'd give him a list of things to do, but his first thing was to build the fire. So he had to have the fire ready to go as soon as that blacksmith came in from having his breakfast. That fire better be ready, or that apprentice was looking for another job. So, and typical of doing it, I'm going to do stuff, I try to do stuff as they did it back then, the whole reason of building this. So the wooden match, as we know it, didn't come out until well into the 1850s, so that wasn't available. So it was flint and steel. Or if they were coming from the cabin, they'd probably bring a lantern lit or a candle to sort of speed up the process. So let's see if this darn thing draws. Okay, so far so good, because the flame's tending towards the chimney. Now I'm going to have to get some heat before it really draws, so I remain hopeful, optimistic I should say, that this is going to work. So far so good. That blows a lot of air, and you can see the flame going into the chimney. Most of the smoke is going in. Once I really got a hot fire, it's going to draw really good. I'm not going to need to build that hood. It's all good. So in terms of fire, what I'm going to do now, I rake in a bit of the coal in the perimeter on the outside of the fire. So what you're trying to do with coal is convert it to coke. So if you just put green coal on top of the fire, you're not going to have any heat, and it has to convert to that coke before you can get the heat you need for working steel. So I'll bring it on the perimeter. So as the fire burns, I just push it in from the outside, and it's making coke on the inside or outside of the fire there. And then I just basically keep raking it into over the firebox, and it'll have lots of heat, but I'm pretty pleased. I have to share a story today. This isn't a wee bit of history. Well, it's yesterday's history, but so I get quite a chuckle out of people who comment on our site. And on last week's episode where we finished the bellows, a fellow named Tracy writes in, and he said his 3-year-old grandson was visiting them for the weekend. So, and he's a papa like me. So Papa's looking after his young fellow there, and my video comes on. So he starts watching it, and apparently the young fella comes along and wants to know if he can watch with his papa. So he hops up on his knee, and partway through, Tracy says to me, he says, "What do you think?" "Oh, I like it, Papa." He says, "It's neat. What part do you like best?" He says, "Well, I like that guy's hat. My chapeau here." He says, I really like that. He says, "He's a nice pirate." And he says, "Hey, look, Papa," he says, "he's building a machine that's going to make his ship go faster." So relating to my bellows. So perhaps a little misconceived, but I got a 3-year-old fan, a new fan there. And and then apparently at the end he commented that the only thing that disappointed him was he never got to see the bellows move the ship faster in the last scene. So anyway, quite a cute story. I thought I had to share that one.